Good morning from New York. Today's subject: Science as a Guide to the Inner Mind Communication Journey to Spiritual Healing. Science is closing in on you, mystics. Some of the most mystical ideas about the self and the brain, well, it's coming from modern research. These questions are being probed in a very rational kind of a way. That's why I call myself a rational mystic. And it leaves a lot of room for wonder. A lot of people think that you move in science and all the wonder's gone. Wrong. This mic is a little too close, isn't it? Yeah. So, yeah, that's it's the beginning of wonder. I mean, who's better to deal with mystery than a scientist? You know. So you might come to this channel thinking it's a chance to space out. Well, in a way, if it opens your eyes to wonder. And that is truly the way of the mystic, is to plunge into that wonder and understand all that you can. And spirituality, that's, try to understand it. It's not just some supernatural notion floating in the air. I mean, there's something there. What is the there? Well, spirituality, in rational terms, have to do with virtues. There are things that we recognize as virtuous. And why do we recognize them as virtuous? And of course, I'll get to the healing of those virtues and the progress toward those virtues in a little bit. But let's look at where the virtues, some common virtues, come from. Goodness. Where does goodness come from? Well, it comes from empathy that's focused on being compassionate, which helps people to feel safe and secure so that they can express their needs and their feelings. So, yeah, goodness comes from compassionate empathy. And we can grow in that, we can learn that, and we can benefit from that. And it can be healed. That's one virtue. And how does it relate to the human condition in a scientific way? Well, we're all about survival, and what helps our survival of our species and ourselves. And so if you're looking at the virtue of goodness, you're looking at a way of helping our species survive, helping us to meet our needs. You want people to have good behavior because it helps people to be aware more accurately and with a sense of trust, express that awareness of their feelings and their needs. Without the ability to express feelings and needs, their chances of being met by the herd, by the rest of us, is diminished, and so that would endanger the species and our survival. So, compassion, goodness, these have rational connections to survival. And when you're looking at what is the virtue of truth, well, that's useful facts that we, or approaches that we entertain. And how does that help us survive? Well, it helps us to survive by our ability to be objective, to not be dominated by our emotional feelings, but to understand them. That's subjective empathy. Truth is, is due to a need for objective empathy in society. And that it helps you get to facts and useful theories that are true to the extent that they predict the past and the future. Or what you would find as you delve into the past and what you experience momentarily in the future. Or maybe not just momentarily, but you can do year-long studies and things like that, and make predictions about how things are going to be next. And that's definitely helpful to human survival. And that's the value of truth. The origin of truth is that. Now, with each of these, let me back up a little. From what did compassionate empathy come from? Well, the need to express your feelings and your needs, which is something that just an infant can do in its own way without even language. And so that need to express feelings and needs is aided by the goodness of heart, the compassionate empathy that helps people feel safe to express those needs and those feelings, and then get them met. We also saw labeled good behaviors based on that, of course. People rushing to the aid of people in need is a good thing to do. Okay, where did truth come from? Where did objective empathy come from? Where did it come from? Well, it comes from the ability to focus, to pay attention. You ever Teachers will say, "Are you paying attention?" Listen, listen now. Are you paying attention? Pay attention to the board here, not to your neighbors. Yeah. So paying attention is foundational. Focus is foundational to what is required in social circumstances, which is objectivity. In order to be objective, in order to think objectively, we need to be able to focus on the problem at hand, for instance. So, all of these things evolved. You don't need any kind of a holy book or somebody shouting at you through a megaphone from a mountain or a hill. You probably wouldn't hear him on the mountain. Yeah, and there's science that would tell you why you couldn't or might not. Anyway, you don't need that. So, this is the discovery of the rational mystic, bringing science into the internal communications of the brain, of the mind. You're looking at another thing that I consider to be a virtue is artfulness. And that means, if you're artful in your life, you know how to see things in useful kinds of ways from many different perspectives. You're able to put a lot of different perspectives together in helpful ways, and that's creativity. And so creative empathy, and when I include the word empathy, I'm talking about awareness and connection to the feelings of another person, or of yourself, seen as another person, or seen from outside what you think of normally as yourself. So, again, another way of meeting human need is this creativity. And another thing that meets human need, okay, what is that based on? The ability to be creative, to create play is, evolved from our capacity to be at play, to be playful. So, even fish can be playful. And so that's something that you develop rather quickly as an infant. This ability to be at play. And so, with social demands and so on, and necessity, this playfulness becomes artfulness. The ability to put a lot of perspectives together and to create play. Football, baseball, but more than that, playing with observing things in different ways is very useful to science and investigation. People like to watch these crime stories, Well, because they love crime. No, because they love to see the investigation and figure out who done it, right? So that takes a little playfulness. I'm kind of amazed sometimes that you have law enforcement reaching out to psychics, and I often wonder, if they were just going to be a little more playful and creative in their, something they all possess. Um, with special experience on top, why they might not be better off depending on themselves and just trying to say, oh, let's think of something that just might seem completely impossible and that could have caused this situation. And, just throw it out there and think about it. And sometimes thinking is not something you're really conscious of, it's just something that happens and then you're aware that you were thinking or whatever. So, just as a side point there, and when you're creative, you don't get enslaved to a certain thought uh, process or pattern. You can think differently. Should be a bumper sticker. Think differently. And that's a skill, that's creative. And that's what you see happening, when people are doing guided meditations, showing you a movie, taking you to a movie. That's an invitation to an experience, a creative uh, effort to experience life in a different kind of a way and from a different perspective. So, it's early. What time is it here? Yeah. I've been up since like 5:30 in the morning. It's typical for me. But I'm not a morning person, but necessity demands. So that's how it works. Anyway, pardon. I will continue. That creative empathy is very important. Now, when you bring all of these abilities to meet human need together, that's very potent, very helpful. And what that does is create another kind of virtue, which I would call trust. Trust, that your needs are going to be met, or the people who are around you, their needs are going to be met. The trust in the love flow, that the trade going on is going to be helpful. Yeah, there's a lot of trust involved to hand someone a piece of paper, and each considering it to have value. And that really helps human survival. And so trust, that's very important. Skills in these other areas of meeting human need build trust. And trust is something that an educated trust is what you end up with these influences, a kind of open-minded but intelligent trust that is very useful in many ways. Now, going into the healing aspect, it's a damage to that trust. And I call it damaged faith and love, or damaged trust. And this is, well, it's a cause of a lot of problems. And we've called it a lot of different names, complex PTSD, adverse childhood experiences. These are all forms of damage of faith and the love flow that your needs are going to be met. There's a real threat there, and you can't, when there's such helplessness involved, helplessness is key to any kind of adverse experience, has having more of a lingering impact on us. Producing and harming our abilities to function in ways that best meet our needs and the needs of people around. And looking at this picture, we get this idea of someone who is very emotionally intelligent if they're healthy. And so health involves healthy growth. There's a growth in these skills and so on. It's a pattern. It's a way of living life in a more healthy way. Doing good things for your health, kind of like exercise, diet, and a lot of other things that are very important. Gosh, we're complex, aren't we? A lot of things involved in human survival. Love affairs. Obviously, that has a connection as well. Yeah. So we're talking about damaged faith and love here. Just to refocus myself on this. Oh, that big yawn. Focusing. Well, you can see all these skills that I'm talking about are useful, and they get blocked by trauma. Trauma creates helplessness, which is the opposite of feeling trust. You feel helpless. Your trust in that thing that your needs will be met or other people's needs will be met is damaged. And yeah. So this damage, where does it, how does it impact us? Well, if you can imagine a force hitting an object, say it's a big stationary balloon, and you hit it, where does that force go? Inner city. If you're hearing that. That's a whole nother video there. But many videos. Anyway, so when you hit that stationary ball, the force gets spread out. It impacts directly and it spreads out the force around that ball. So in a sense, when you this helplessness, this damage has a kind of force that in the brain it gets spread out and distanced. The force becomes spread out and distanced from the original impact. Distanced and spread out. So how does that happen within the brain, and when you're damaged, your faith and love is damaged? Well, you replace what the brain does to cope with this. The balloon maintaining its situation is otherwise it'd go shooting off. So the brain creates symbolic need and circumstance in order for you to cope with it, so that the helplessness and the anxiety from the helplessness, that impact, isn't more destructive. So it spreads it out, and it happens. It's just natural. It's not something that I thought about that. That impacted me, so I'd better do this. No, that's why well, I don't want to get too fast here. The symbolizing and distancing from that original event of trauma is easily understood in that way. So you will seek for symbolic need and symbolic circumstances that reflect but are not, that are distanced and are not the original experience. And so there's a kind of helplessness involved, and that helplessness keeps us from having focus, play, and expression of the needs. That was never a process. That was damaged. So just that is damaged. Just your ability to feel what happened, damaged. And your ability to cope after that, in a more evolved language sense, it damages it makes you very concerned about yourself, obviously. You're much more, a person in pain or in stress is more selfish, more concerned about their own personal survival. That damages empathy. So these empathies are damaged, and so virtue is damaged. So and that these virtues are at the foundation of a rational view of spirituality. So, is it someone's fault when they're behaving very selfishly and badly and without empathy? No, not really. They've suffered damage. So does that allow me to have compassion for people who lack these things? Sure. I don't hate Trump or people who follow the Make America Great Again philosophy. I don't hate them. Why should I hate them? They're sick. They're damaged. And, you want to rush to the aid. You want to help. You want to love them. You don't want to beat them up. Fix them by force. That's well, it involves a little you could call it force, compassion, but compassionate force is good. But if you're just trying to change their minds, it's going to be very difficult. If you're talking to the brain that thinks, uh, you're not going to change their opinions. They have to learn, they have to do something about that damaged faith and that helplessness that has damaged their abilities to see things more empathetically. And how do you do that? Well, they have to go through a process. They have to go back and, from a safe distance, go back to that force which they did survive, and unlearn that helplessness. It's a helplessness to express, to focus, and to be playful. It's a lot of people that are really damaged. Their sense of humor is damaged. That's part of the playfulness perspective. So, yeah, you can make a little baby giggle. Anyway, so you've got this, all this going on. This is blocked, and the empathy is blocked. So you have to go back and refocus from outside of the event inwardly, so that you re-experience the force which you know, and that can't happen by an act of will, but when you work with these different perspectives, the symbolic covering that saved you in the beginning from great anxiety, these things begin to shake. They begin to fall apart. Gee, that don't make sense. That don't make sense. Why am I doing this? And it doesn't make sense why I'm doing this. Why am I doing this? It's like, that's the objective impact on the symbolic acting out. But the others have an impact too. And together, all of these things are very impacting on that symbolic false comfort, that selfish false comfort, that cocoon of unconsciousness that people put themselves in. And is this, talking about this MAGA and Trump as other, it's just a degree. There's, and it takes more forms than just that. I mean, some of the things on the far left or the far right are examples of this kind of impact. What people will do is to avoid that feeling what once was not survival to feel is amazing what they will do. And it can be very tricky and complex. And the person from outside is not really going to understand. It impacts dreams. But as one wise person, Arthur Janoff, said, a person can have the same dream for different reasons. Two people can have the same dream for different reasons, or different dreams for the same reasons. There's a lot of complexity involved there. So helping from the outside, pushing insight is not that effective, and it doesn't really change the person inside. They have to unlearn that helplessness. Okay? And so unlearning that helplessness, you take these different skills and you grow them and you increase the ability to cope. Trauma has less impact the more mature you are, the more your brain is developed. and so you could shake it off. But early on, the same thing could be just really overwhelming. So as you learn these skills, you grow something called often called ego strength, the strength of I, and so that you have a little greater confidence in meeting needs and being able, uh, to meet your needs and the needs of others, and also a greater trust that you're going to get your needs met by others. You see a lot of the conspiracy theory things, a lot of the scary ones is demonizing some other people. It's all the fault of the rich, or it's all the fault of this and that, and these people. No, it's not. It's that's a punishing kind of attitude, and it gets in the way of spiritual healing. So spiritual healing is connected to emotional healing, yes. They're all tied together. All of these things are so tied together. It's like everything in science, things are connected. So, oh wow. Let's see. Let's refocus. I was going to tell you about what now? Let's see. Inner mind communication journey to spiritual healing. The journey to healing. I'm into that already. The journey to healing is the development of these skills that I mentioned in relationship to your needs and your feelings. And as you use these things introspectively, it has, and the symbolic begins to not be able to function. And you got to be tricky. You got to go in with an aim to comfort yourself, and not to. When you do that, and go in with also the notion and the understanding that good things can come out of this, and great things might be discovered that you were impervious to because you weren't open to receiving or giving love in a circumstance, and so there were some positive things that were going on that you didn't absorb because you were too traumatized, you were too hurt. And so people tried, you will discover things that are healing. Okay. That just beautiful sorts of things open up. So the comfort approach is very good to do, and gentle with yourself. Do the skills that you are most capable of, and in gaining this confidence there, go into the other skills and try to develop those. Some people may have greater difficulties in one area or another, and brains are different. If you're suffering from psychopathy, your approach might differ. So if you have serious mental dysfunction, mental emotional dysfunction, you need therapy. You need to see a qualified therapist. If you are fairly well off and functioning well, you can benefit from training and practice. So there's levels of deliverance of this healing, and there's therapeutic, and then there's trainers, kind of like physical therapists, and then you have people who are exercise trainers, and all these people need to be communicating, a connection, okay? Um, and if there isn't connection, you have to wonder about the ethics. Okay, well, maybe I don't want to go too far out with this. Keep it simple. To myself, keep it simple, stupid. Which is the only thing I'm capable of, fortunately. It benefits to everything. Anyway, now, why is the punishing attitude such a very bad thing? And why is it that, well, therapy is a later choice or approach? Well, the best therapy is not to aim at the problem directly. And that's the little problem. Even in therapy, you want to develop some skills, but you have a therapist who understands, you know, ways of doing that, and the approach needed for you individually. Because you've got a serious condition there. But the approach, even in therapy, is not the medical model necessarily, in the sense of focusing directly on a problem, but focusing on what you could gain. And attempts to comfort, using attempts to comfort, but from different perspectives. And of course, the more of these things you use in one session at one time, the more impacting, the more you spread these things out, these approaches out, the less. And that doesn't mean better or worse. You want to want to dose these things just like you do exercise, and it takes energy going into that process that I'm talking about. Now, how does that process go? And just look at this in a kind of linear fashion, although it's you could argue that it's not purely understood in a linear way, but the mostly to some degree, this makes a lot of sense. If you feel what really happened to you through these processes, then what happens is that you discover the needs from your present perspective, those needs that were impacted, which were kind of covered over with symbolic stuff and goals and things like, I just need more money, more food. Yeah, I'm hungry. Yeah, these can all be related to symbolizing blocked early need. That's complex PTSD. But that's developmentally. PTSD, of course, is just trauma, raw trauma, just where you are pushed toward a fight or flight situation and you could not do that successfully. And right, but these are all forms of damaged faith and love. Now, once you've felt the real need, hmm, then you've done a lot in terms of unlearning helplessness, because now you're in connection with that real need, and you're realizing what? That it's not a need today. It was a need then. That means today that need is a loss you never knew you had, really. Never fully aware of it. All of this is by degrees, so. But there is a kind of linear fashion. It's helpful to view it in a linear way. So when you feel that helplessness, feel that need, realize that it is a loss, what do you need then? You need to grieve. Find a way to let go of the loss, cope with the loss, integrate the loss. And that's another process. That's grieving and sorrowful about opportunities you had to love and you couldn't, opportunities you had to be loved and never happened. So, after grieving, then what? Well, after you've grieved, then anybody or yourself that had an impact on that situation, you can more easily forgive. Because you've grieved it, you've let it go, and so the force of it isn't pushing you and to be more defensive concerning it. So you're not into the drama so much anymore. It's gone. Yeah, bygones be bygones. Then you can forgive. And from your heart, not just mouthed words. And once you've forgiven from your heart, it opens you to the most terrible thing to feel, which is how, as a social animal, you were once a pariah, a criminal. You did things that hurt other people. And so what is required there? You've done this forgiving, and now you need to change some directions and cope with when this terrible feeling of being ostracized, no longer an acceptable part of society, which is survival. That's a huge impact. So you need remorse. And when you are sorrowful and you really feel the impact of the bad that you've done as a result of this disease of damaged faith and love, you realize you're no longer the person who did that thing. Then you are, in mythological terms, born again, right? To some degree. All of this is matters of degree. And it's not a one-time through and I'm done, it's something that you go from different damages forward and into greater degrees over time. So a punishing attitude, back to the point, the punishing attitude is to demand change without the process, to be angry at someone, afraid of someone and angry toward them, and demand that they change right now. And not only that, but until you do, I'm going to give you a cruel disincentive, a disincentive that's, the disincentives are, that's fine. That's a traffic ticket, those are good. But you go beyond that. You want to hurt the person or have them feel more pain. And the last thing to cure someone of damaged faith and love and pain from that is to inflict more damage, more rejection, and more pain on top of that person. Okay, for this crime, we're going to put you in for 5 years. Okay? That's, well, the disincentive part and, protection of society part's fine. But I'm going to be really hateful to you while you're going through this temporary isolation from normal society, which is damaging. You want to do as little of that as you can to fix problems with people. But, okay, you're doing that, and you're hurting them at the same time. Are you subjecting them to conditions which are unlivable and horrible? How does that heal them and prepare them to be a better person? It doesn't. I'm not saying that, you just let people get away with things or be mushy kind, without saying, hey, there's a reason you're here, but we still love you and we want to help you. Instead of, we're going to cut your food rations or something. Take care and bring them back into the fold. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. Yeah, there you go. There's a song about all this. That's the mythology that connects up, yeah. So that was somebody who was a person who was involved in the slave trade, who realized with great remorse what they've done. And the grace, it's, it sings about the grace. The song is, well, 'twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear when first I did believe. Believe means trust. You have trust and love has returned. And that grace is that forgiveness. And that one fails. Not just for oneself, but toward others. And so you have this whole process of healing there, and that's why, people on the rational spectrum, often follow Jesus. in this country, or in another country, perhaps the Buddha, or Krishna, and other figures, or Martin Luther King Jr., a great mystic, you know. I consider Neil deGrasse Tyson one of the great mystics of our time. Rational mystic, you know, goes into wonder and tries to figure it out. That gives meaning to your life. You understand? So, yeah, and you don't need a book to tell you that. You can feel it inside. You can experience it. That's the mystic way. And so I'm hoping that this is something you appreciate. That you, I think, you know, it's not so much that you teach someone something like this. It's that you cause an echo in another person, an echo from the part of themselves that is still in that love flow. You know, even though damaged, we're all damaged. The wounded, we're all wounded healers. Yeah, but the damaged, faith and love. Well, if you're still alive, there's still hope. And that faith and love is being triggered. That small, if the mustard seed of faith is as small as a mustard seed. Jesus said something about that. You Bible experts, you can jump in and give me a comment. You know, no, this is the verse and this is what he said. Okay, would be appreciated. You can do that. Yeah, this is your channel, I hope, not just something that a few of us put together, but something we've put together for the world, wherever you are. May the love flow be increased for you. And if you found this video important, beg wine. If you want, if you feel it's in your love flow, share the video. Make comments. Subscribe to the channel. It's not just me on this channel anymore. Thank you. I mean, there are other posters already. We do weekly or bi-weekly Zoom calls that some of the people more attached to the channel present and come together, and we will be inviting guests to such Zoom calls from our subscribers. So as a kind of gift to people who will subscribe and comment and so on, we hope to have you on some of those Zoom calls, because it takes all of your unique skills and your neighbor's skills and everybody to save humanity. And we're really looking at that right now. We're in threat. And politically right now in the United States, our democracy is in threat. And democracy, is politics a part of all this? Yes. You can't be apolitical. Politics doesn't have to be evil. You can use politics to increase the love flow and to find common ground where that echo of the love flow in each person finds a meeting ground, common ground, ground of trust. And from there we expand. And that's what Joe Biden does, and that's why I think of him as a great mystic. He's just a great person, and his rather charming and beautiful wife, and his can I say cute in a way that yeah, I won't get out and someone's gonna say that's some kind of mansplaining or something, but his vice president is awfully bright as well, and yeah, and people like that are adorable. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm more reluctant to say that Joe Biden is adorable than I am to say Kamala is adorable. But they're both adorable. Her support of him is what's vision in my mind right now when he turns to her after saying his vice president endorses him. poor sick, weak, especially morally weak Trump. His vice president does not, and for some very good reasons. Yeah, perhaps that Trump encouraged his followers that were intent on hanging his vice president for doing the right thing. Yeah. This is a fight, democracy is the place where empathy grows. You get rid of democracy, you are getting rid of what's spiritual and what glues us together as a human family. You've got to fight for democracy. You can't let weak, morally weak people be in government. The people that lack these skills are not going to serve you. They're not going to represent you. They're going to represent themselves. Okay? Yeah. And if you understood all the things that I've said, you'll understand that. Okay? You'll understand that. I hope you do. Shout out to Tennessee Brando. Do go to his channel and subscribe. And Robert Reich, go to his channel and subscribe. Star Talk, go to that channel and subscribe. These are wonderful people doing great work. Yeah. So I could go on with thanks forever, of course, to all of the people who are in the effort to increase the love flow in our world. Anyway, stay tuned. There will be a lot more to come, and perhaps some of it will be from you. And hopefully, and wherever you are in this world listening to this video, you're part of the family. Okay? We're all in this together. Don't let these artificial boundaries keep us from recognizing that we are one human family. So wherever you are, you know, get involved with our team. You will be very welcome. And bring your unique talents and do videos in your own language. And come on to some of our Zoom calls and do some translations like they do in the UN, right? So we can all come together. Love brings people together, builds trust. Trust is good for survival. Democracy is where all of that can happen. If we vote, if we are involved. Another fellow mystic, and friend of mine, well, Mike, he's a great progressive organizer, and you know, he's be sure and check out that video that we did. That was a Zoom call. I forget what we called it. But you'll see a face that is not mine, and is not our beautiful Alyssa's, another great team member. We're a great team, I got to say. I'm praising us. But, and including myself, see, I snuck right in the back door there. And, yeah. And it's a guy, okay? So we look through the videos, and that'll be the one. It's a very recent video. Anyway, there's going to be some great things happening on the channel. I hope that you'll stay tuned. These things are not things that are completely new to anybody, but they echo. They bring forth a messaging of hope that connects to the love flow in each of us, calls us to our better selves, calls us to defend democracy. Well, I'm a type of person that goes on, and all my friends say, don't ask him what time it is, he'll try to explain how the clock works. Yeah, I'm that guy. Walk away from me in public, you know, talk your ear off. But, yeah. I like to give a blessing from my heart to the world, and it's an old Irish blessing, and I like to sing it, even though I'm not a good singer, kind of like Jack Benny playing the violin, for those who are old enough to remember that comedian. Yeah. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand, or her hand, or its hand, however you see it. The hand of the absolute truth. unified field theory. Anyway, so I love the word namaste because it means that echoing back and forth of the love flow in each of us. All of us points of consciousness knowing the universe in fact knowing itself, Carl Sagan. We're all pieces of the universe knowing itself. That is awesome enough. Okay. You have to invent things, assume things that are wild and hard to believe. The wonder is just, it's right there. Like the hope in your heart. Like the love that still flows through you and between you and others. That word or phrase that I love honors all of that. And that word is namaste. I'm not the best speaker in the world, and I hope that better speakers will come along. And your great talents and the talents of so many people in the world will come together in a spirit of love for this human family, and so we can save ourselves. We can spread democracy, spread empathy and awareness, and make a better world. So, namaste, and make a great day today. You know you can. You can make it better. Grow that trust. Namaste.